Okay, let's run through some tips on using the Gamer Pro with the Retro Shooter. And mapping the controls is a question people have, so let's go to Tekken. One tip for the Gamer Pro: if the Bluetooth lights are flashing, it's trying to connect to your puck or via Bluetooth to something, you can hold down P2 for about 5 seconds and they'll disappear. So now it's in USB only mode. It'll still work whether they're flashing or not if you're plugged into USB. Okay, so to get into settings, let's hold start. We will hold start, which we've assigned already, to P1. If you go down to Gamepad config, hit your A button, you'll load up your custom config. Well, first of all, your controller. So this is the Gamer Pro HID. So you can see that it remembered that I saved it to this, and it seems to do that per game. So if you make a custom mapping and want to assign it to a particular game, it will remember that next time. So my system default button mapping, which we'll go through in a minute when I do a factory reset, and is set for 6 button games, but Tekken being 4 button game, if you want to keep the 4 buttons over to this side, we did a custom remap. So you can change that anytime. Hold down 2 buttons that it says right on the instructions, and now you just hit the buttons. So this particular remap, I did A, B, C, or where X would be, Y, E, F, G, and H. And that is it. You do not need to map the control stick. When you do this the first time, it'll go through everything, including start and pause. Whatever has the star beside it is the mapping being used for that game. So if we go to default and switch to that, back out, start a game. Then we're using A, B, and C as the 3rd button, and this is the 4th button. So if you like to play that way, fine, but if you want the 4 buttons to be there, then make that custom mapping. And now we got A, kick, punch, kick. Now, if you really want to get fancy and put your 2 kicks, 2 punches at the bottom and kicks at the top, you can do that too. Just move them around. So at least it's 4 buttons. So hold down player 1, get to our menu. This is where you can hit favorite or not. The favorites will populate at the top of your list. If you want to take it off, obviously, you just unfavorited it. And we'll add a favorite again. And now we will exit the game. If we go to Street Fighter, which is a 6 button game, go to Gamepad config, now we're going to keep it at the system default mapping, and we'll see why in a minute. I'm going to hit favorite on here now. It's start button to exit, very confusing. It's actually X to start for some reason, or D. We've got configured right now. Punch, punch 2, punch 3, the bottom, kick, kick, kick. So again, that setting will save, it won't interfere with the other one. Long press to exits. So that's the basics in setting up buttons. Seems to work fairly well. So Street Fighter is now favorited. So Gamer Pro works great in the menus and in any fighting games or regular arcade games. Let's load up a light gun game. So in a light gun game, you can of course control things with the light gun. However, the gamepad, any gamepad, including the Gamer Pro, is locked up. There's no keyboard controls. You have to do everything off the gun. Not a huge problem. Of note, no arcade games on the Retro Shooter make use of the trackball. It does not work. So to exit these games, you have no choice but to hold start button on the gun, which is the first one, and go to exit. Trigger to get out. As soon as you get out of here, now this works again. This also works, as you've probably noticed. Again, quick way to get to the light gun games, hit player 1 start, go to light gun games, hit A, and here's all the light gun games. So there's two choices if you don't want to go through that and all you want to do is play light gun games. You can go into the settings and hide them all, or you can just go to favorite them, and then they'll always be at the top of the list. If you favorite all the light gun games or all the light gun games you play, then they'll be right here every time you do it. Not a bad way to do it. Okay, I'm going to do a factory reset on this Retro Shooter box, and then we're going to set up the Gamer Pro from scratch. Now, most of you probably know to get into the settings menu, you need to hit the button on the back of the Retro box. I've already got mine nicely mounted to the back of the pedestal stand with our holder, and it's a bit of a pain to unplug everything to get to that button. So here's a little trick. You might find it handy. Plug in the keyboard, hit 0, you're in settings. There you go. Same as hitting the button on the back of the Retro Shooter, but don't have to take anything out. So, two different configurations in here. We are going to do factory reset. Let's start from scratch. Okay, so the box has rebooted after its factory reset. We're going to hit 0 again on the keyboard or the button on the back. You can use if the controller's not working, you can use your light gun to get here. We go to Gamepad config. That's the gamepad. The Legends comes up as HID 0838 8918. And we want to set the default system button. So it tells you to hold 3 buttons down to calibrate the gamepad. I have had this not always work the first time. So if it doesn't, just keep trying, reboot, whatever. It does work most of the time, and we'll try it right now. I usually hold down A, X, and Y. Okay. So sometimes it does not work. Supposed to be 3 seconds. There. That time it worked. I changed the buttons. Now it worked. It's a little bit strange, but anyway. So start is P1. I use the green button for pause. You can use this one, but let's use that one. And then, as we talked about earlier, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. That's what we recommend. You do not need to do the D-pad. It says to ship this button, you hit player 1. So we're going to ship this button and just keep shipping them until we get to the end. Now we can go to IO test, which is C. Test all the buttons. This won't show you, but it should work. Player 1 and A to stop the test. Player 1 to go back. Back. Stick should work. Light gun config, there's not much to do in there. We just did a system factory reset, so if you want to go and check on different things. There's a few features here. Scan lines, I've been turning it on. This doesn't make that much difference. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn that on because we have this nice green button now that can be our pause. So. And player to go back. Game config with the newest update does give you the ability to edit the games list or favorites list right here. So if you wanted to only turn light gun games on, the way you would do that is show all, only show select. So we will hit B and then A. I guess you always have to have one on. So now we have hidden all of the games. If we go to the end of the menu, go to the very last game, well, these are the gun games. So we can show that one, show that one. It appears, so you're actually numbering them as you go. So the last game that we do is going to be first in the list. So that's why you want to keep the list the same as these guys have by default. Clearly you can do that for all of them and just go a little higher up. What you might want to do, of course, is just pick the games you want, that you know you play more often. Oh. It doesn't matter what order you do it in, you're always reordering. Ranger mission's pretty good. That's my favorite one. So now we've turned that on. We'll hit player 1 to go back. Actually, one more thing. This one I can now turn off probably. Okay. So that's one solution. Only the games that are turned on are going to show up in our list now. The other solution, of course, is to simply favorite them. And then the favorites will show at the top of the list. Up to you how you want to do it. You can, of course, also save that. And our list only has light gun games. And not all of the light gun games, because I didn't turn them all on. You can still hit P1 to go to light gun, but you'll notice it's only showing the ones I've turned on. In all these other categories, there are 0 games because we turned them all off. So it's a gun-only cab. You want to do something like this to make it simple. You can turn on the games you like or don't. You can also favorite still in this menu. So have all the light gun games on, but just favorite the ones you play the most often. They'll be at the very top. The other ones will be below. All right. Hopefully that helps configure that for you. Pretty straightforward. If you want to hit 0 again on the keyboard, I want to turn them all back on because I can deal with it. No problem. I have the control deck, so I want to play all the games. I'm going to go back to edit the games list. I'm going to say show all. I click that twice, and now they're all turned back. Save and exit. Okay, now all the games are back on, and when you go through the lists, you see them all again. That's interesting. Okay. And we want to do that because next we're going to go to 3 and 4 player games and try it with the quad deck. So I'm going to simply switch this out. And the way I'm going to do that is take the one cable out of the Gamer Pro. One USB cable. Plug it into the quad deck. Of course, we can switch this top with that top. It's just a little easier for me right now to have 2 pedestals. Turn it on. Now it shows us that a new gamepad has been connected. Please initialize it. So I'm going to try those same 3 buttons, A, B, and C. That seemed to work before. They're not working right now again. Gonna run out of time. There. This time A, C, and D worked. Go figure. So start, again, same deal. Start, pause, we're going to go with the green menu button. A, B, C, D, E, F. There is no G and H on this keyboard, obviously, so we can ship this button. And we're going to ship all of these as well. Now, we only map for one. It maps them all the same. All players are mapped. In fact, Let's prove it. We'll go to the I/O test. If I hit player 1, start. If I hit player 2, start. Player 3, start. Player 4, start. The joysticks don't count. A, B, D, and E. Because we mapped it A, B, C, D, E, F. So the 2 that they're missing on these are going to be C and F. So that could be an issue for some games. So on this deck, you may want to do the default settings as A, B, C, D, E, F. Because generally speaking, a lot of the games are going to use the first 4, but not always. So you're going to have to play around with that. So we can do that right now. Let's get out of the I/O test. Go to custom mapping 1. And, sorry, 2 buttons to map custom mapping 1. Maybe it's just the first time it doesn't like it. You can hit it. I have to do it twice. So we're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F. And done with that. So now when you see the 2, you can see them change. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, or you have A, B, C, D, E, F this way. Which means when we go to test them, let's do that again, C. So here's interesting. Is C this one? It is. It's still this one, you see? Weird. So now when we test A, B, C, D. So if the game is going by the actual letters, now we have the first 4 buttons assigned to each of these 2. So that works pretty good. So now that's saved under custom mapping 1. And you can switch to that in any game. It'll save that with the game, which mapping you decide to use. So back. This one has a nicer name. It knows it's quad play. Back. So we'll mix it. So now this retro shooter has a profile saved for the quad play and for the Gamer Pro. You can mix and match, change them back and forth as much as you want. It'll know what you're doing. So let's just prove it for a moment, in case you don't believe me. So these are all 3-player games, but we want to go to a 4-player game. I haven't tried this one before, so let's try Captain Commando. Okay, player 1 starts, player 2 starts, player 3 starts, player 4 starts. Simple as that. Most of these are only going to be two or 3 buttons at the most. So that's player 1, there's player 4, there's player 2, and then there's player 3. Sorry, I haven't mixed up. This is 4, this is 3. I'll save you. There you go. Perfect. Out of the box, simple as pie. Okay, and the last control deck that I want to show you is our custom control deck. It's going to come in a variety of designs. Obviously, this is the Terminator. Matches the Pedestal, but we have 3 other designs on our website now, with more coming. So this will come all pre-configured, ready to go. It's pretty simple, straightforward. We also have a 6-button version. Single USB connection. Just plug that in for now. This has a front plate. I just don't have it on right now. This sits on our pedestal, just like that. Has the built-in holsters, so transfer the guns. Looks fantastic. And gives us complete control, select all the games. So we can navigate, we can go to our menu. Let's go to shooting games. This is an A button. Let's go with 1944. Start player one. And all these 2-button games can be played on here. So to exit the game, we'll press player one. Exits. Very simple, straightforward for people to use. Nothing complicated. Again, if you want to get the shooters, we can go to shooters. And we can load up. Yeah, let's do the bed. Load it up. Guns are right here, ready to go. As soon as it loads up. But this is what I want to show you. Unique to our deck, you do not have to use the guns when you're in the light window. You can start the game. Start. The stick works. Start the game using the controls. You can exit the game. I can bring up the pause menu anytime. Continue. I can cancel with the B button. All from the deck before I even pull up my gun. So if you want to go into calibration menu, you've got 2 guns in your hands, just long press, gun crosshair setting. One thing about crosshair settings, it says, but it's really calibration settings. Calibration settings are saved per gun. That's why you can move it around from place to place, and it will maintain the calibration pretty well. Obviously, size of the screen, things like that, will require a new calibration, but calibration is saved to the gun. So if you calibrate using a PC utility, for instance, and then use it on an Android box that doesn't have a calibration, that is one way to get your gun calibrated properly. Also, something I was going to mention about the guns, a lot of them will come backwards, but the dip switch for the red gun needs to be all 3 in the one direction. it would be up. And the blue gun needs to have the first dip down. That makes it player 2, makes it player 1. There is no way to change the colors of the crosshairs. Red gun. The only game that I've seen so far that it's reversed is actually T2, which is ironic considering we've changed all the graphics to match what the guns really are, so that the red player is red and the blue player is blue. T2, they're actually switched. Every other game, the crosshairs, player 1 is red, player 2 is blue. So if your guns are showing it wrong, change the dips, and you'll be fine.